The U.S. Air Force is warning more than 1 million people not to try and raid Area 51.
The Facebook page Storm Area 51 was actually started as a joke, but now officials are growing worried that people will start to follow through.
Yeah, it was almost exactly 5 years ago. A tour bus carrying visitors to the edge of the top secret military base crossed that line. The I-Team's George Knapp put this story together then about how serious the military is about its boundary.
In the 25 years since our reports first put the once unknown base on the map, tens of thousands of curious people have trekked out to the desert to take a peek. A few have tried to slip into the base and were quickly scooped up. As far as we know, this is the first intrusion caught entirely on video, and it nearly caused a shutdown of the regular tours.
Look how bright it's getting. Look at it now.
Area 51's years in obscurity ended in 1989 when news reports about classified projects at the Nevada base set off a stampede of UFO seekers, aviation watchers, and media. The base is still a favored location for classified military projects, so security is justifiably tight. Motion detectors, high-tech cameras, the ominous camo dudes, and warning signs which declare deadly force is authorized. The signs themselves have become photo ops, the money shot for guided outings like those operated for 15 years by Adventure Tours.
That in last August, that the CIA finally declared that it was a legitimate area military installation.
Some of them are just curious. They don't know what it's about. Other people believe that they've been abducted. Other people believe they are actually aliens and they want to go out there to hopefully get back home. We get all kinds of people.
Co-owner Donna Tryon says the typical tour includes stops at main shrines of Area 51 lore, the E.T. highway sign, the Little Ailey Inn, and the Holy of Holies, the very edge of the base itself. But there's one thing the tour most certainly does not include. The point at which our journey must stop.
Our guides have been known to tell the passengers that, you know what, you can't go over that line, and if you step foot over that line, you're on your own.
A major mothership.
But on May 28th, it happened. Driver Dennis Ryan and his 4 passengers, all of it recorded inside and out. The video shows Ryan and group having a good time, zipping toward the edge of Area 51. At precisely the wrong moment, one of the tourists asked Ryan a question about sports books. It was just enough of a distraction that he blew right past the warning signs and kept on going. After 45 seconds or so, Ryan started looking around, wondering where the camo dudes were.
Was it a white truck on the...
Less than 2 minutes after crossing the boundary, the passengers inform Ryan that the white truck is right on their tail.
I can't believe it. I cannot believe that.
Both on each side of the vehicle, there's a gentleman that in full military garb gets out. The one on the passenger side, he had a full automatic rifle.
What'd they say? You went over the line.
You went over the line, that you are trespassing on military installation.
Inside the vehicle, the tourists, a couple from the UK and a mother and son from the East Coast, thought it was all part of the tour, actors playing their parts.
Well, we're going to let your company know that you took us the extra mile, that you put us into this situation, and they were just as much, they thought it was part of the whole process.
But they soon learned it was no act.
No, those are the men.
After Lincoln County deputies arrived, the driver and passengers were pulled out, cited for trespassing, and given court dates. The projected fine, $650 apiece, and a misdemeanor conviction.
This is absolutely unacceptable.
Co-owner Will Tryon contacted Lincoln County DA Dan Hoagie and tried to get the out-of-state passengers off the hook.
We were afraid that they would issue a bench warrant for these 4 people and turn our good tourists into criminals.
Are they all right?
But Hoagie wasn't budging. He suspected it was done on purpose.
Your tour goes to Area 51, and your intent is to enter Area 51. And I said, Mr. Hoagie, I said, you couldn't be more wrong.
The company decided if the citations stuck, they'd close down the tours to 51, which would be a blow to the fragile rural economy. What the DA didn't know until the I-team contacted him is that the incident was on video. One look at the video and the expressions on these faces, and the DA knew it wasn't intentional. The driver has to pay, but the passengers don't.
You're going to be famous, you know that. The driver who blew through Area 51.
Great, great. No, I'm barred for at least two years now.
Lincoln County has an arrangement with Area 51. It handles all trespassing cases. The DA told us that while tourism dollars are important to the county, so is the base, which generates a lot of tax revenue. After we told him about the video, the DA agreed to drop the charges against the passengers, but on one condition, that no video recorded by the van's forward camera be made public. That camera recorded camo dudes coming from the other direction. But for the record, there were no shots of any flying saucers or secret aircraft. George Knapp, 8 News Now.
That may be the closest anyone's ever going to get is watching that story.
The guy's going, I wish that sign was bigger. One question, he was off.
Blinking lights.
Goodness, yeah, that's a great point. I don't know that people actually show up. By the way, George hasn't aged a day.
Yeah. True story. When I first moved here, I heard about that. I went out to the installation. Of course, I followed the rules, stayed back, and said, wow, that's pretty cool. Area 51 is right there. They have automatic rifles. I'm going this way.
The other direction.
U-turn.
Yeah. Hey, clear sky.
That was a story out of Channel 8 News out of Las Vegas, News Now. That was from a guy who accidentally drove across Area 51. Think about it, folks. These people that are thinking they're going to do something, I've got another news story I'm going to play, and that'll be another couple minutes long, but it's out of Charlottesville. And I believe it's Charlottesville. It's Charlotte, Nevada, I guess. Charlotte's CW, WCCB. And it just hashtag Nevada. Sorry about that, folks. I just lied to you. But it's WCCB News Edge. And today I've got another brother of mine who's international. He'll be on as soon as this one plays out. And this is only in another 5 minutes, 46 seconds. And I'm going to play it right now.
Tonight, 1.3 million people have signed up to storm Area 51 in Nevada. What could go wrong? We told you about this on The Edge before. A group created a Facebook event called Storm Area 51. They can't stop us all. Organizers say to meet on September 20th and rush onto the secret military base to, quote, see them aliens. Organizers admit up front that this is all a joke, but local police, they're taking it seriously. They say they are ready to arrest anyone who tries to trespass on the base and will use non-lethal force, they say, including tear gas and pepper spray. Meanwhile, the Air Force issued a statement saying it is aware of the Facebook post. A military spokesman issued this warning. The Nevada Test and Training Range is an area where the Air Force tests combat aircraft. We do not discuss specific security measures, but any attempt to illegally access military installations or military training areas is dangerous. And now celebrities are getting in on the joke. Today, Lil Nas X just dropped an Area 51 themed music video for his latest Old Town Road remix. Thank goodness for that. Kevin Jonas tweeted that the Jonas Brothers' Happiness Begins tour will include a post-raid rave, and singer Lizzo and actor Danny Trejo also have shared their own Area 51 memes, though none have actually said they plan to be in Nevada on September 20th. So, our question of the night, do you think people are really going to storm Area 51? Here's your panel. Fox Sports Charlotte radio host and comedian QCB, Natalie Stewart. She and her husband, retired NFL running back Jonathan Stewart, own and operate Charlotte Lately. And Ryan Pitkin, editor-in-chief of Queen City Nerve, Charlotte's Cultural Pulse.
I love that you smile every time you say that. You just stare at me.
I love that that's your slogan. Do you think this is real? I think it's actually going to happen. I think some people are crazy enough to try to do this.
Well, crazy is a good word. I'm thinking morons, idiotic. There's some fools out there who really looking forward to doing. They're going to plan a trip to go out there.
Right.
We saw like in the movie Independence Day when they was on top of the roof with signs with the aliens, and they all got blown up, the smithereens, and rightfully so. I just wish the police force, the Air Force, I wish it would be lethal. and show these SOBs a lesson.
Local police say non-lethal. Navy says we do not discuss, which means you're going to die.
Just put on
You
medium.
might get hurt by the local police, and you might get killed by the feds.
Just put on medium, because you know it's gonna be a group of people who can't wait to take a van and the Greyhound bus out there.
Matt's not here tonight because he's already out there in a camper, getting ready, gearing up for September 20th.
And they've said, Natalie, that the hotel bookings in the area have gone up for that time frame,
which is crazy to me. It's like Coachella and everyone just gearing up for. But that's the sad thing. I think people really are that dumb that even if the people made the group as a joke, that is the power and influence of social media, which is insane. And the fact that people don't understand, like the thought that you actually think you could go and raid a military base is insane.
Yeah, it's more like Burning Man than Coachella, because there will be men burning.
Or Fire Festival.
It's more like Fire Festival.
Coachella is a bad comparison. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
What do you think, Ryan? Are people going to actually do this? And are you going to be there to cover it with Queen City Nerve?
No, because we're hyper local. What's going on in Charlotte? But no, I think absolutely. But the thing is, the organizers, this is like the world's best troll, because you can tell they're funny people and like see them aliens.
Right.
I just wanted to get some thummy uppies or something like that they wrote on the post.
Yeah.
But other people are going to go, and then the folks who made that post are just going to be sitting back. They've got us all talking about it. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, but like, is there going to be blood on their hands then if legitimately people do storm this base? Because, as you said, even though it's clearly a joke, there are people out there who we know are unwell, who are motivated by stuff that they see online, who are... maybe they have some sort of mental illness issues that maybe they're going to go try this.
Well, they qualified it, though, with this is a joke, this is to be funny.
I know, but some people
so that's
don't
a Facebook
pay
thing.
attention to that.
You've got to be somewhat accountable for your own
They need
decisions.
to shut that group down, because there are people that believe in conspiracy theories and are crazy and will show up there.
And think about it, someone's going to make money off of this. I wish if I got enough time to try to plan a trip out there and have people who want to go, and I could rent my own bus and make T-shirts.
Yeah, T-shirts would be an easy sell.
If you are going out there and you live in the Charlotte area and you're watching this, please contact me, because I do want to interview you seriously.
You can do a Charlotte Lately takeover for us.
And you could be on Queen City Nerve as well. And you can be on Fox Sports Charlotte Radio.
Or QCB, that's right. And if you get sprayed with pepper spray, do the interview before you get sprayed with pepper spray.
And JJ could do a mean interview about you. So that could happen too.
But no, like, even if you're not planning to storm the Area 51, if you're just going out sort of for the tourist attraction part of it, I'd love to interview you. I think that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Go to Zion National Park. Go somewhere else. There are other places.
Or Clearwater, Florida, somewhere nice like that.
Or Clearwater.
Or Wrightsville Beach. In Area 51.
Is this like TripAdvisor? Is there something else you'd like to plug?
Anywhere but that spot in Arizona. Anywhere. You can go to
Yelp reviews by QCB. There's more Edge on the way.
Well, folks, I've just played a couple little things. Like I said, I brought on a brother of mine. We've both guarded and also worked on in and around places that are high security. And I'll introduce him right now because he's on the line. You guys have heard him before. Baz, how's it going, brother?
Yeah, not bad, brother. Yourself?
Outstanding. Did you check out my show from last night, late last night?
To be honest, brother, I've been away all day, so I've not really had a chance. Basically, I got in the house today, messaged you, and jumped straight online, brother, so I've not really had a chance.
Cool, no problem. I basically was talking about the Facebook. We gonna run, Navarro run. They won't be, our bullets won't hit them. They can't get us all. And invade Area 51 or raid Area 51. We gonna see them bodies. It's goofy shit. The guy actually was a joker who did it. But I think if something does happen, now they're talking about Lincoln County, which surrounds Area 51. Their sheriff's office will be using non-lethal force, they're saying, to prevent any access to the base, because that's a major tax revenue. There was even a example, like I said earlier, of there was a mother and son from the UK that were visiting in a van along with a husband and wife from out east. And this guy accidentally ran it. And on last night's show, I talked about it, and I'll pull the picture up. so everybody can see. There was a father and a son, and they had their own channel called Mac Adventures. And I only found out about it because I was looking to see something else. This thing has been really, I thought it was goofy, and I didn't even want to talk about it. But you and I both knowing how moronic people are, how many times have people tried to broach your security in places? I mean, just give some examples for people on like what you've had to do.
Yeah, it's and it depends where you're working. It depends on what level sort of escalation of violence. And there's like comical ones where you see people trying to get into your facility or your camp, your barracks, and there's sort of like a level of humour to it because you know that they're not meant to be in there, and there's no malice involved. And then we've had on numerous times. I was in the military for 2.5 decades, and I've seen some quite horrific attempts, especially places like Afghanistan and things like that, where it's usually preceded by someone clacking themselves off at a main gate and then a follow-up attack. Luckily, they've all been sort of non-starters. They've clacked themselves off and just made a mess, basically. Or before they've done it, we've taken the appropriate action and stopped that threat. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes because again, it started off as sort of a Facebook joke, just people trying to say yeah, let's do it, bravado and all that, and then it's grown into something that may have legs, where there is getting a bit of a movement behind it. Excuse me, and so. But you see me, I did a post on it not so long ago, thinking that they've said they can't get us all. And obviously, I put on, obviously, you've never come up against the M134 minigun, and there's more than one of them.
Yeah, the gal has all different calibers, from 50 caliber on down to 5.56, and those fuckers fire fast. So don't think they can't get you off if you are doing it with malice, like Baz said. Keep rolling, brother, because I just wanted to agree with you. The gal... it's on a lot of different platforms, and you're dealing with a base that deals in aerial vehicles. And don't think they won't rev up the 30 millimeter on a Thunderbolt and just let them run wild too. So
yeah, I think what we've got to look at it is an element of reality. I don't think that the government of the United States will allow A-10 Thunderbolts to start doing gun runs on a load of fucking Facebook warriors,
Oh, I think they should. It would thin the population. Think about it, brother. These are morons. I mean, if they're really going to try it, they're just morons.
Darwin Award. I would say if there was a group of 10 people and they all got fucking brassed up, then yes, it'd be inverted commas, a tragedy, and there'd be a bit of an outburst for a few months. But after that, it died down. But when you've got the supposed 800,000+ that have said they're going to turn up, then, I think there's going to be a lot more sort of eyes looking inward. How can we combat this before it actually escalates to the point where bodies are hitting dirt, if you know what I mean?
Well,
I mean, don't get me wrong. If they do get through that wire, I think the first 3 or 4 people that get switched off, people will start thinking, hang on, this is real. This is not a Facebook anymore. This is not the so-called Naruto run that they're doing towards the fences and stuff like that.
Right.
Once a couple of slugs start hitting flesh, they'll soon about turn and disappear into the hills, But I think there'll be a lot more sort of safeguards before that even gets to happen. I think a lot of the base security will be stepped up. You never know. National Guard might even get called in.
Well, remember
Nevada National Guard.
Remember the Air Force in the U.S. goes by ABDG or GD, Air Base Ground Defense. Yeah. So those first guard shacks, they're miles away from where anybody can actually get to anything. I mean, that's just reality. And like I said, with these guys from Mac Adventures, it was a father and son team, and they just wanted to end at Area 51, but they were doing stupid shit. Now you got to remember, there's all kinds of sensors out there. There's cameras. I've been out there a long time ago. I'm not getting into specifics, nor can I. But the point being is, they were videotaped, and I did my program from a law enforcement point of view, okay, a federal law enforcement and a military policeman's point of view. So they've already given everything to make a couple articulable facts, which starts leading to probable cause. And all federal USAAs, United States Assistant Attorneys, they are looking for, in every circuit court, they're looking for probable cause. Well, when you have it on video that you've jumped across the line, you're clowning around, putting your arms over it, you're stepping literally across it and then jumping back, taking pictures. You're not taking pictures in front of the sign, which you and I both know, just taking pictures of the sign means that what's in the background is still there, which means you've broached, you're actually collecting information and intelligence, which that's why there's that criminal code that I cited last night on that it's you could face 6 months imprisonment or a $1,000 fine federally. And I mean, that's just a fact, because when it says no photography from this point, it means you don't take pictures going that way. You can take pictures going the other way, but not facing that sign. And they've allowed the media to do it for years, and they allow people to do it just because it's such a distance, and they really haven't dicked with many people. But once you start stepping across the line, and here's another interesting thing. The guy, you're going to have to listen to the program. I don't really want to go into it, but I got the picture up right now. The guy actually had an ACU-colored second ID patch on his back, which means he might have been IRR, one of the Mac Adventures guys. Well, you know, for first thing, he's getting his security clearance yanked, even if he's IRR, you know, ready reserve, and involuntary ready reserve, because he's still got time for, he could be called back to active duty in the U.S.
Yeah, liability, reserve liability.
Yes, so he's, and it's a lot easier to prosecute him, other than his father, through the UCMJ, and that's what I suspect. After watching another show, I can't remember their name. It's like they're explorers. We explore for you, or something like that. Explore for you, or something. Anyways, EWU. Explore something you. Anyways, I forgot. Like I said, I did the show last night. It was late. I was talking about it with BZ on the research I'd done. Now, this is amazing. Last night it was like 900,000 something that were like, yeah, we're signed up, we're going to go. And then all of a sudden they're like, nah, this morning I'm looking at it, it's over 1 million that are confirming they're going to go. And then you have 900,000 that say they're interested. All it takes, what's 1% of 1 million?
100,000, isn't it?
1%? No, that's, yeah, it is. 100,000. Yeah, you're right. That's an amazing number. And what do we always say? Everything boils down to the lowest common denominator, the 1%. Those are numbers now you're getting into.
Yeah. And like I say, a lot of people were saying I'm going, and
actually,
like
I think it's 10,000. 1%, I think, is 10,000. 10% would be a million.
100,000.
100,000.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I was an infantryman. Maths are not my strong point.
Yeah, same here, man. I don't do math.
I was taking off my shoes and fucking socks then.
Yeah, counting toes.
But still, that's 10,000 people storming.
Yeah.
To be honest, some are gonna get through. Even if there's only 10,000, even if there's only 5,000, some are gonna get through. 5,000 is a lot of people, and you know, albeit how big Groom Lake is, Area 51, 5,000 people in 5 groups or whatever is still probably too much for their security, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So there's going to have to be sort of outside help. And, Yeah, like we said there, if it's only the 1%, because a lot of people have said they're going, and a lot of people said they're interested. Let's call it conservatively 1.7 million are either interested or are going, or put down to go. A lot of these people probably live in somewhere like fucking, I don't know, like New York or Florida.
Basement.
Yeah, yeah. They aren't going to afford to get all the way to Nevada, nor do they have the means to get there, nor do they know what they're doing when they do get there. It's not as if you can jump on a bus and say, "Can you take me to Area 51?" You have to go to the surrounding towns, and then it's know which direction. And even if they do get to these surrounding towns, that's where people are going to be waiting. Those people, be it law enforcement, be it National Guard, or whatever,
or intelligence.
Yeah.
That's something I discussed on BZ's show. Is you're not dealing with a critical national security site. And just like when I was stationed in Europe and we would have the green movement protesting our nuke sites, we didn't have amateur hour police intelligence because, honestly, most police intelligence units, you know how they are, and we're not going to get into that. But you're going to have military intelligence guys there, legit ones. And they're going to blend into the crowd, see the temper, the tenor. They're going to have video on, but ain't nobody... We're not talking GoPros. They're going to have the little spy microdoc shit.
What they'll be doing there, I know quite a bit about this from my history working in places like Northern Ireland. That the first thing they'll be doing is to be identifying these ringleaders.
Right.
The people that aren't just there for the fuckery, aren't there for the so-called boogaloo, taking pictures and maybe getting a couple of rocks to take back home and a couple of T-shirts saying I was there. The people that actually have malice behind them, the ones that sort of like side with the I'm not going to start going down the Antifa route, but that type of person, if you know what I mean.
Anarchist.
Anarchists, where the big government is the devil and all that stuff. So there will be that type of person there that will be trying to blend in, and you never know that there could be a credible threat there. The guy that actually sort of like decided that this was a good idea, he's on 1,000 watch lists right now. And I would dare say that he's been visited on a number of occasions by different agencies saying, what the fuck are you playing at? And that's why he's sort of like taking back his comments. Oh, it was just set up for a joke. I think it's a bit too late for that. You've incited something.
Yep.
Incited public disorder, whatever you want to call it. So it can go a million ways, this incident. If it ever does come off,
and it may not.
Yeah, it could just pass. They might have a few hundred people there, milling around the nearby towns. No one making any, because again, it's like Antifa. It's just, it's an ideology. It's an idea. Let's go and do it. There's no actually running this thing until somebody actually organises it. But again, this is not the fucking Arab Spring. You start putting stuff on social media, and people are going to get lifted pretty quickly.
Well, I'll guarantee you the guy who put this on Facebook didn't get visited by the FBI alone. They got visited by DCIS, Defense Criminal Investigation Service, probably AFOSI, Air Force Office of Investigative Services. I think that all four branches, actually, I'm not going to speak out of turn, have representation out there anyways. But AFOSI is the equivalent for not AFOSI, strike that. They're like CID in the Army, Criminal Investigations Division for the Air Force. And the Marine Corps, same way, and NCIS. Now it used to be NIS, Naval Investigative Service. Jesus, my mind is spaghetti today. But you know how that goes, brother. Anyways, the point is that DCIS, Defense Criminal Investigation, is the FBI for DOD. And don't think that one of the guys, remember, federal agents are like butt cheeks in America. They travel in pairs. And don't think that the partner with him might not be an agent from DIA. a professional intelligence guy. And they've already, like you said, they've sussed him. They've looked his criminal background up. And if nothing happens, he'll just be on the radar, like you said. But if something does happen, now that becomes problematic. And that's the only reason why my last one was the idiocy, or I can't remember, stupidity of this whole thing that people are pushing. And I figured I better get with another guy who can give a different perspective, because, of course, you know how I am, brother. I don't like to just give an American perspective. I like it to be from a European perspective also. And because I don't want to speak German all the time, I'm not having a German guy on, you know, and nobody will understand it in America, but in Germany and Austria will be like aces. But this is the more important point, is that just bring your perspective from, let's say, Northern Ireland, some specific sensitive base you're on, not just the non-lethal, which there's much. I mean, now especially, I mean, probably more than during the Troubles, they have the microwave system that'll make you feel hot if they aim it at you. They have the different cutoff systems that will, you know, screw with your equilibrium, you know, electronically, the EW stuff. And there's just a lot of non-lethal things before you get to that lethal point. And that was my point of saying they're probably 20 or 30 miles, maybe 40 miles until they actually, depending on the gate, till they actually get to anywhere they could actually see anything. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, because they did seize quite a lot of real estate, didn't they? I think there was only one point you could actually see down into the facility, and that was a point from about 10 miles out. And
they
the Air
seized
Force,
that mountain.
They quickly seized that, put it in a no-fly zone and all that stuff. Now they do have, like you said there, there's a lot of sensors, a lot of video surveillance going on, and we have a lot of people think, oh yeah, but the civvies, you know what I mean? They put drones up there. It's ignorant to think that the Air Force aren't patrolling that area, not with just the old camo dudes, but with unmanned aerial surveillance drones as well. And I'm not talking Reaper drones or anything like that, but smaller versions. You know, because they do a lot more. They can loiter a lot more. They can see a lot more, and it's cheaper, less manpower. You know, why pay two camo dudes $500 a fucking day or whatever they get paid for two of them when you can just chuck one of these little drones up and let it loiter up there for 6 hours?
Or
you know,
or just a cheaper option is using a PGIS system, a balloon.
Yeah.
We've both seen them in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah.
And they're effective out to miles. And they can give grid coordinates. They can actually, this is something I did a show on a long time ago. A lot of people forget there was I was under Obama. It was 2015, 2016. Can't remember when I think it was 2015 when it went on. But mostly out west, what they did, it was a proof of concept. But you and I have seen this concept work out overseas, where you find a target, not you don't, but PGIS does. Let's say you're in that general area.
Yeah.
And we have Blue Force Tracker, or your version of it, you know, so you don't kill your own people like we did during the Gulf War and the beginning of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. You would be able to give a precise coordinate through the PGIS, through the drone, whatever you're looking at, right? And it uploads uploads, however it goes. And then you can upload it onto your Blue Force Tracker. And it actually calls the strike in for you. You don't even have to do anything because somebody in the rear is saying, yes, this is a threat. We've identified it. We can see they've got, let's say, AKs, RPGs, whatever. We need to hit them. They're going towards our guys or doing something else, you know, setting up a roadside, you know, EFP or, you know, I don't want to get into all of it. But they would strike them. And there was a thing that went on. Everybody was making a big deal about. I'm not getting into the specifics of the op, but everybody in America knows about it. They were losing their minds over it. And they're like, oh, this is... But it was a proof of concept where you no longer had that commander that's looking at it, but that commander is still responsible because it becomes AI. It was a proof of concept that AI can take that decision.
Yeah.
And that's why they were doing all the little operations out west, and you had special forces and all kinds of dudes running around, and it was just a war game, but it was done in America, and that was what was off-putting to people. But that was the reality of the situation in the game. And so that's the whole thing I'm saying is there's a lot of in-depth defense that's there. You know, like you and I always say, TDS, time distance shielding. It works for everything from nuclear weapons to getting shot at by high-velocity projectiles. Anyways, run with that, brother. I just threw out my thoughts.
Yeah, so the level of sort of the escalation of this, it'll be already planned. You know, they know what they're going to put in place. They're not just going to sit around and say, okay, let's see what happens. Contingencies have already put in place. You'll have obviously sheriff's departments and all that good stuff warned off, and they'll be drafted in, and they'll probably be the first line, the first responders. Look, there's nothing to see here, just fucking go home. And then, you know, after that, I would dare say you're going to have elements of National Guard working, not crowd control as such, but again, as that sort of like physical barrier, and that sort of basically don't cross this line. There's the line in the sand. You start doing that, and then it becomes under sort of like military jurisdiction, especially if they're sort of broaching boundaries and things like that, where, again, we still haven't got to lethal force, but you mean probably more force than law enforcement might be comfortable to take. Again, if you're thinking you're going into boundaries now where you're going to have a lack of sort of mainstream media as well, unless these clowns are running around with GoPros streaming it. But again, that's not mainstream media as such. That can only be sent to mainstream media. But I'm digressing. And then beyond that, that's when you start broaching into sort of like the third line of defence, where it's actually the base security, where that little red writing at the bottom of the signs comes into effect. Lethal force is authorised, you know. Yep. Now, again, no one's going to get shot by just crossing a line. They're still going to be treated as a criminal. You know, no one's going to get shot for crossing a line. No one's going to get shot for even stepping onto the runway of Groom Lake, you know.
They can be arrested later. You're exactly right, yeah.
The only time that people are going to get shot is if probably two sort of things. One, if they start being, I won't say nuisance, but they start presenting a threat to human life, or they're going into an area that it can pose danger to public safety. Let's say, like we've got Porton Down in the UK, you've got places over there where it's our sort of like biological warfare facility. Right. If people start kicking in doors there, then obviously, I'm just summarising this. Obviously, you can't just kick a door and all of a sudden smallpox has just spread the globe. But you know what I mean? They're getting into facilities where they are controlled environments for one reason or the other. That's where lethal force is probably going to get thing. But to be honest, are some of these idiots going to get that far? I very much doubt it. Unless, like there is that 1.5 million of them turn up, where if we want, let's be honest, if 1.5 million fucking pink-haired, pansexual internet ninjas rock up, then no one can do a thing. The chances are they are going to get into that base, unless they start plastering these waves and waves of people with 30-round depleted uranium rounds from A-10 platforms, you know, which I very much doubt. Because can you imagine that? Well, put this way, if that happened, it would be the end of the United States, wouldn't it?
With what you've seen with Antifa, would you doubt that maybe that's what some of this is happening from? I don't doubt anything. One thing I'll say, if memory serves, you guys have an entire island in off the coast of Scotland that they have shoot-to-kill orders for anybody who goes there. And if I remember right, you guys developed anthrax there, right?
Yeah,
And that's
there's
why
an
it's
island.
off limits.
There's an island. Oh, it's one of the like tiny little islands off the north of Scotland, up nigh the Shetland Islands. It's just it's basically like fucking Chernobyl, but with anthrax. So yeah, you can't go there. It's just about. I don't know why do you want to go there? And there is probably as far as I recall, there's a shoot to kill policy, but there's no one there to shoot you because no one hangs around on an island full of fucking anthrax. You know what I mean?
Right, it would be from a boat.
It's not on any maps. The only people that really know about it are the military and the locals basically do not advertise the fact. And to get to this island, it's some of the most hostile seas you can try and negotiate. It's knocking on for the Arctic Circle. You know, if you want to go up there and collect anthrax samples, fucking be my guest. Chances are that you're not going to be hitting mainland because
you won't make it to the boat.
No. Yeah, so going back to our whole thing, I very much doubt. Although a sort of like a sick side of me wants to see that and all these pink-haired individuals turn to mist.
Pink mist, yeah.
Pink mist, but it let's be honest. In reality, it would never happen. You know, because like I say, it would be the end of the United States. I'm not saying that people would declare war, but ourselves as a nation, as a civilized nation, all of a sudden, X amount of 100,000 of its young people have just been turned to mulch by the evil global capitalist military machine.
Trust is gone.
It'll degenerate into anarchy. You know, there'll be a lot of people sitting on the fence thinking, "Oh, look at these idiots," and all of a sudden, there's just Nevada is now covered in pink soup. You know, a lot of people would turn against it, but again, that is fantasy land. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Will some people get shot?
Could be.
I would. Could be, yes, but there's not going to be sort of mass. You know what I mean? Genocide.
But
you know,
I wouldn't doubt that. Look, the base commander. You and I both know this. The base commander has ultimate authority of that base, and it's just like, what's the primary thing? I'm sure England has the same thing. Any nuke site, first off, it's protected to the hilt. You're not, and we don't know what they have on Area 51. Honestly, it could be something of that level of national security. It doesn't run. He doesn't have to ask the president, let me defend this base. If all of a sudden it's being overrun and they're heading to something like that level of national security,
I think it'd be taken out of his hands. It's something at that level.
Yeah, well, you're not going to let him grab it.
No. I would dare say if there is that number of people heading for that, 10, 15 people, the base commander can happily do that. But if you're looking at upwards of 1 million people, that's going to sit at sort of executive level that, okay, you need to start putting rounds into targets. He's going to be sat on that big red phone going, okay, they're at this level. Okay, they've breached this boundary. And it'll be beanbags. Okay. Yeah, they're ignoring those. They're getting through those. We have now roughly about 80,000 people within our inner cordon. And then it'd be, where's the ringleader? And again, going back to the surveillance and the intelligence gathering of certain covert individuals who probably are already infiltrating these groups already.
Definitely,
they'll be identifying targets, and all of a sudden these people in the crowds will start getting dropped. Boom, 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 and then it's cut off the head. You kill the snake's body, you know, and then it's like, okay, these people are getting dropped. I really want to go back home into my mum's basement and start playing Fortnite. You know what I mean? I don't want to be getting shot at by the camo dudes, you know, and it'll quickly sort of thing. But it could go the other way. Again, we're just summarizing here.
We're just wargaming. Honestly, this is nothing more than wargaming, folks. But but these are all possibilities on the table. It's funny you said the camo dudes. I had a great conversation on my other thing. You'll see it. You can add to it. Gentleman's name's John. He's a good dude. So I'm not banging on him. You know this, bro. I don't bang on anybody. But he was talking about this, that, and the other, and some of his information was dated, but he said, yeah, well, I don't really know what's happening now. Well, you and I are still in the game. And the interesting thing is, they still do this. I've seen it on a lot of shows where they'll call Area 51, oh, that's Whacking Hut. Well, last I looked, Whacking Hut is gone. They used to be a big player in the 80s and 90s. You and I both know this. I mean, globally. But globalism swallowed them up with, I believe, wasn't it Garda World out of Spain, the EU, that bought out Whacking Hut and several other companies, if I remember right.
Yeah, I know. Like sort of Garda World, they're one of the big players now.
They bought out Armor Group.
Yeah, they've swallowed a lot of companies up. Swallowed a lot of companies up, and I think Whacking Hut was one of them.
Mm-hmm. And they're global now. I mean, we used to have different armored car companies. Brinks is still around in the U.S., but one of the other ones was like Western. I gotta pause. You go on and talk.
Yeah, so you're going to have these camo dudes there as well. Now, what rules of engagement are they working to? You know, if we're thinking back to sort of like the Blackwater incidents in Iraq and places like that, where they're working in sort of a quasi-military rules of engagement environment, or the more sort of stringent rules of engagement because they're on US soil. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go from there, and if these crazy cats do actually get into the inner cordon of this, what are they planning on doing? It's not as if these hangars, they could just slide a door open and there's an extraterrestrial sitting there.
Right.
You know, nothing on the surface of that is going to be containing anything of note apart from experimental aircraft. You know what I mean? Obviously, you've got skunk works there and all that stuff. But again, these hangars, you can't just slide doors open. It's not like your local small town airport. You know, a lot of this stuff is under armed guard, under lock and key. Not just lock and key, you've got biometrics and all that good stuff. But again, we're thinking of the little green man Roswell incident stored in there. It's not going to be stored in one of these hangars. If anything like that is stored in there, it's going to be several stories underground in hardened facilities. You know, these clowns have got no chance of getting into those. You might even get a hangar door open. What are you going to do then? Everybody's going to stand milling around looking at each other going, okay, we've got in. And
if you get a hangar door open now, you've breached it, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? Your broadcast is going to end even if you're live streaming it, and then all of a sudden you just disappear. Yeah. And we both know the reality of some of this shit. People do disappear. And you just didn't make it to the site. Didn't happen. Yeah. Not an event.
Let's be honest. All signals are going to be blocked from going out of that place anywhere. You know.
Oh yeah.
We can do it very local. Even with, like, say, rolling around Afghanistan and Iraq and places like that.
Mavericks.
You had your ECM and all that stuff. Think of the ECM they've got going on in that place. You know. But what would be funny, on the flip side of that, if we're wargaming, is if they actually turn around and go to these idiots, well, come on then, come and have a fucking look. You know, and there'll be everybody stood there going, okay. Or even if they do get in there and they open the hangars, what are they going to do then? You know what I mean? We've opened the hangar, there's nothing in it. They're just going to stand there and go, okay, I think it's time to fucking go home. You know, there's no end game to it. It's just...
One of my funniest thoughts was it would be great if in between they get to the main area from all the little things, they build these small little compounds and try to convince everybody that this is the place.
Yeah.
And then they're like, honestly, I think they could avoid all of that just by, you know, if the government wants to spend some money, they don't want to build walls, of course, which they need to do. But it would be absolutely hilarious if the government built little green men and little green vessels or whatever, and they put them there and they made it an attraction, just like Wright-Patterson, where you can look at different vessels.
If I was a camel dude, I'd be going to work that day with a little green mask on. Just running around.
Yeah.
You know, just for the fuckery. You know, but like I say, what are they going to do if they do get in there? You know what I mean? They're going to rock up into this facility and what are they going to do? It's not as if they could wheel out a flying saucer and take it home. I don't know what the end game is. A part of me wants them to go and do it because, let's be honest, we all want to know what the fuck's going on in Area 51.
We all don't turn away from a car accident, brother. We all look at it.
We all want to have a go, but we all have, apart from the people that know actually what's going on in there, and there's only probably a few people that actually know the truth of what's going on in there, as in the history of it all, and if there is anything in there. We all want to know. Yep. Everybody wants to know because it's just one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Area 51 has a legendary status. It's one of the most, if not the most secretive place on the planet, but we're also ignorant to think that Area 51 is the sole be-all and end-all of secret military programs that the United States has got. It's got things that aren't even on the radar. Things that'll probably come under a code name, you know what I mean? It won't be Area 51. It'll be like, it'll come under some auspice of some forestry commission or National Forestry, US Forestry facility, or something like that, where this stuff is really going on. And Area 51 is what it is. It was, it says on the tin. It's just an area where experimental aircraft are designed, prototyped, built, and tested. Like the SR-71, like the
they flew them out of there. Yeah.
That's where they're all tested and designed. You know what I mean? That's why you've got Lockheed Martin and your Skunk Works is in
Raytheon.
there.
Well, Skunk Works is actually out, believe this or not, out in the middle of L.A. Yeah. So, I mean, that's where they design it and they build the prototypes, but they don't fly them. And they're usually not flyable, but they're everything but the engine. I think they probably put the engines in different places out in the desert. Like I said, all of out west, because it's so massive and expansive, that stuff's just everywhere. And it's hidden. I mean, shit. Utah, we have the NSA's major, me and you, I think, have talked about this, major collection point for intel, besides right in the middle of Manhattan. There's a big black weird-looking building. NSA runs it. Yeah. There's a place in Utah also where we keep all of our chemical weapons. And then New Jersey, I believe it was off the coast of New Jersey, has a biological weapons site. So, I mean, it's all over the U.S. And different companies take it over at different times. I mean, you have Battelle out of Ohio. That's where its headquarters out of. You have all these different companies that will run all of this. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, like you said, Boeing. I'm not going if it ain't Boeing. Yeah. I mean, there's just a whole lot. And the same with England.
Yeah. It's exactly the same over here. I mean, we've got places like BAE. We've got BAE all over the UK. We've got build our submarines up in Barrow. There's a place about 15 minutes down the road from me where the Eurofighter, the Typhoon's built, where obviously the Joint Strike Fighter, the F-35 that we've got off you guys, that's where it's been, obviously because we buy things from you and then we tweak it to our own specifications. That's getting done up the road. And there's places where I've worked at in the past that obviously I can't really put over the net, that I know for a fact that none of the public know about.
Right.
And some of these places are in plain sight. Are in plain sight. Well, there's a place called the National Firearms Centre. It's the largest private collection of firearms in the world, and it's in the centre of Leeds.
Yeah.
And thousands of people walk past this nondescript door every single day, and not knowing what lies behind it.
Right.
And there's other places about the UK. I actually was born and brought up near a place called RAF Fylingdales. On the papers, on the sign, it's a Royal Air Force base.
Right.
And it's the early warning centre. You may have seen pictures of it. If you go on to Google and type in RAF Fylingdales,
right.
It'll show you one of two pictures. Either the old radomes, big white golf ball type radomes.
Right.
But now it's a three-phase array. It's like a pyramid with a flat top.
Right.
And that's part of the US Star Wars program. You know, of the global sort of laser net that we've got. You know, obviously the Star Wars program to shoot down what was the big threat from the Soviet sort of ICBM threat.
Like
it was,
Brilliant Pebbles, like the Rod of God. Yeah, I know the projects. One of the things, when you mentioned the firearms place, there's a place in Virginia, believe this shit or not, from different spies they've arrested. They've taken their furniture, their bookcases, all these different things that they built. And some of it's quite fascinating, but it's invitation only, just like the place you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you're able to see the different places people can hide shit, like microfilm the size of a quarter or a nickel.
Yeah.
Stuff like that from the Cold War era. And up to this day, it's actually current. So there's a lot of stuff that's hidden in plain sight, and it's, like you said, behind a very nondescript building. And there's a lot of stuff put out there that the people just don't understand, or I don't think they really want to understand. A lot of it needs to be hidden in. I'm like you. I like low profile. Don't hide it, or don't show your muscle. Don't show this. Don't show that. Just be low profile. Nobody will look twice. Be the gray man. The gray man concept to a building, to a person, to a car. Be gray. Period.
Yeah. If you hide it, people would want to look for it.
Right.
It's just human nature. You know, secret UK bunkers and secret. There's actually a funny sign that you might see on the internet. There's actually a sign pointing to a direction called Secret Nuclear Bunker, and it's just a terrorist facility now. You know, you can go and tour one of the old nuclear bunkers from the Cold War. And it's just a sign that points that way, Secret Nuclear Bunker. But there's places all over the UK. We do something over here called Op Tempora. And it's like the nationwide counter-terrorism organisation, because obviously we've been under the guise of terrorism, under the threat of terrorism, for a good few generations now. What with the Irish, and then obviously with Al Qaeda, ISIS, homegrown terrorism, and all that shit. So our police and military, I would dare say, work quite seamlessly. That's one thing we are good at now. You know, ever since, let's say, the 9/11, our government weren't shy about putting tanks outside our airports or light strike vehicles and getting guys in camouflage, conducting sort of armed patrols and stuff like that. Because that's just a benefit that we've got, that we could deploy our troops on the street, and it's a good deterrent. And even so, now, until a couple of years ago, when I was obviously doing the job I was doing, we would often conduct exercises on a night in shopping malls and places like that, for active shooters and stuff like that, and that was basically a frequent occurrence. Yeah, so it's all good. There's ways and means of combating this threat of this Area 51 thing, and these ways and means are already being exploited. Believe me, by intelligence and law enforcement and military agencies.
Oh, they've already went through everybody's Facebook pages that have liked, commented, and shared.
That's me.
Yeah. Hey, same with me. I looked at it, so they're looking at me, and that'll get me another visit where they're like, "Shuff," scratching your head, and then all of a sudden I'm making these things warning people not to do this, you know. So that tells them that, hey, oh shit, Shuff, what the fuck?
Sure.
We got to talk to you again, dumbass.
Come on in, guys.
But
I'll get the kettle on.
Yeah, I'll get the kettle. I'll get the kettle. No, I never let them in. We'll talk out on the front porch unless you got a warrant.
You're all on first name terms.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. I got their cards.
Christmas card list.
Yeah, exactly. I should actually send him one for this Christmas. I feel closer to him than my twin sister at this point. But it just makes me laugh, man. Here's the point. There's such a disconnect, and you have it very correctly, brother. You have it in your hands very correctly. There's a disconnect with what everybody thinks is the real news, and this is we're gonna blend into the final portion of this. I think we beat this fucking horse all the way until it's dead. If you don't think so, say something now, Baz, because I'm gonna transition.
I think we've covered it. I think to summarise what we've spoken about, there's a lot of talk about a lot of people going. In reality, there is going to be quite a lot of people turn up on a certain day to try and storm Area 51.
Right.
What are they going to do to stop it? What level? Where are they going to stop? Where are they going to stop? At what point are they going to say, okay, that's enough force? And the last one is, what are these fucking idiots going to do when they get there?
Where their logistics run out. I mean, honestly, the gas, their air conditioning, their drinks, their water, the poo-poo and pee-pee places.
Yeah.
I mean, if the media was correct and wasn't going to try to hide stuff, hopefully the Air Force don't put porta potties out there. What's the optics going to look like when people are shitting in the desert without digging a hole? I mean, or whipping out their wing-a-dings to let it flow, or a girl squatting. I mean, honestly, the logistics are what they're not thinking of, and that's where everything, when it's a queer operation, and I do believe it is queer. When I have a meme, I think I posted on your comment with the gal when you were talking about GAU. I believe I posted it where Bill Clinton's saying something like, thank you for putting that up while they're investigating me for Jeffrey Epstein. And he's like, anytime, this is kind of what I do for a living, is a change the narrative. And that'll be the cover picture for this one. But only because of that, because I don't want to use the same one I did yesterday. But this is nothing more. Me and Baz, we can do continuations. If you want to, you can listen to the other one. And on our next conversation, if you find any fault, I was hoping you listened to it. That's why I shared it with you. I was hoping you listened to it so we could go in more in depth on, but it's mostly law enforcement shit and U.S. code and UCMJ, which you're not familiar with. But it's sort of like your Queen's rules, right? So that's what it is. But what we're going to transition to now is not little girls or little boys. We're going to become adults again, and we're going to quit playing these child games that the internet wants us to play. This is some real deal stuff, bruh. You remember? I've got a picture up right now. Socialism is toxic. Do you remember they keep calling them the Squad in America? 4 brave socialist, democratic, communist women that are going against Trump in power, right? Well, socialism is toxic. You and I both know this. I mean, this is just what it is.
Yeah, it's always but it's never really been true. Socialism has never really been tried. Go on, carry on, brother. This is a subject that pisses me off. These people need a slap.
Yes, it's never been tried, except it's killed people everywhere it's been tried. So yeah, it's never been tried, and they can do it better. Just let them be in charge. It will be better, right? You can run with that, because honestly, that's always what they say. So go on, brother.
They say it's never been tried properly and all this, but what you've got to think of is there's been entire nations that have got behind socialism and tried to make it work, and it hasn't worked, and millions of people have died. What makes these 4 fucking clowns think that a few hundred congressmen or senators and X amount of thousand people are going to make socialism work in an inherently capitalist country, democratic country? They need to pull their head out their asses. They aren't going to switch ideologies of an entire nation overnight. Now, if, let's say, the US was a socialist country and they were living like you know, by like sort of Venezuela or something like that. And then someone said, why wouldn't we try capitalism? You know, there's ever so many pros to capitalism. There's more pros than cons as your average citizen. You
Right.
know, I'm going to have a better life. You know, the wage I'm going to get at the end of the day isn't then taken off me and given to everybody else. You know what I mean? Or
Well,
those that don't want to work. You know,
well, remember, Venezuela was one of the most prosperous countries in that region, along with Chile, Argentina. We know about the English-Argentinian War. That's not where this comment's going. For over the island, the Falklands. But my point is, all of them were successful. And Venezuela was the largest oil exporter in the world, actually. It surpassed the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia at one point. And then all of a sudden it got nationalized and socialized. Now they're eating out of dumpsters. So it's kind of interesting. But anyways, the ringleader of it, everybody always likes to talk about accidentally orgasmic cortex. I never will say her real name because she's just a grobastic piece of shit. I wish her well. I hope she lives a long life. I don't care about her. But good one. The other one that makes me laugh about, you'll probably enjoy this, being as how England's being invaded. Well, you may not be able to talk about this. If you can't, don't do it. We got gifted a lot of Somalians at one point under Bill Clinton, okay? And it continued on for a while. But it really started under Bill Clinton and Hillary. It was when the globalists first took over. And it might have even started a little bit under Bush Sr. So I'm going to be an equal opportunity hater on this. But we have this woman by the name of Ilhan Omar, okay? And the Star Tribune only did this because PJ Media's David Steinberg, in August 8th of 2018, wrote an article. So you can find it in both of those papers. So people, fact check, hashtag fact check. She swore falsehoods on her statement of divorce during the divorce. She said she was abandoned in 2011. Well, there's Facebook photos of her and her ex-husband / brother on Facebook. So she puts it out there. Like I said, open source. You know, that's what she did and what he did. And he said, well, it can't be. He gave his birth date in 85 because that's his birth date in 85 for the brother. And I'm just, you know, and there's pictures of kids and, you know, he makes sure to say my nieces and nephews, but they were married. On documents, they're married, right? Because he's in the hospital, brother. And he's got his damn armband on. You know how they put the armband on you in case you croak out. They know who you are and what your birth date and stuff is. It shows his name and his birth date. So, you know, that's a falsehood. She swore to. But in 2013, she's with him, her brother, quote unquote, in the photos. And it's at least marriage fraud and probably immigration fraud. And so when Trump, you know, I've heard everything from the 4 horsewomen of the apocalypse. I've heard all these different things about the squad. And I like to call them the shit-stirring mod squad. Because back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was this movie called The Mod Squad. And it was culturally diverse. And they were going against the man. And that's what these people remind me of. They're a bunch of goofballs. And of course, our media is not honest. They have not reported this except for PJ Media and her home state's paper, the Star Tribune. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Obviously, because I'm not a US citizen, we see sort of very little of what you're going on about. We see that idiot AOC quite frequently, not so much on our national news, but on like social media and stuff like that. And it just makes me laugh out everything that she look, she was fucking a bartender. You know, now this is not taking anything from
Who
people who
came
work.
from a rich family, brother? I mean, she's
Yeah,
not a poor woman.
yeah, she's not come from sort of like a working class family. You know, she was a fucking bartender in an upmarket bar in Manhattan or wherever she was, and then she's just promised people a lot of free things, and she's got to where he's at now. And then she pulls out all this bull because she listens to these left wing, far left wing sort of like talking heads, and then she gets these predetermined ideas in her head. Like when she went down to the facility, the detention facility on the border, and she came back and these people don't have running water. There's no feminine hygiene problems. Children are
They're
ripped away from
drinking
the
out of
parents.
toilets.
Yeah, and then I saw a video straight after that of actually a Mexican American border agent going, she's talking out of her fucking ass.
Right.
I'll take you in here now. Look, here's a store cupboard full of nappies, full of tampons, full of panty liners, full of toothbrushes with actually toothpaste embedded in it, impregnated in it. And look, all this bottled water. The toilet, yes. What she's done there, they're drinking out of toilets. No, they're drinking potable water that is the same potable water that goes into the toilet.
Yep.
Because it's all one unit. Where the cistern is on the toilet, it happens to be a sink. So they're not drinking from the fucking toilet.
Right.
You know, twisting words to fit her narrative. And there's a picture of her crying in front of this fence. And then there's a picture of her with an angle grinder in a hand cutting this so-called fucking this detention facility fucking fence. You know, and then she runs back to her multi-million-dollar apartment in New York and starts bumping her gums about it, the evils of Trump's concentration camps and all these poor immigrants.
It's gay.
Now, don't get me wrong. There is immigrants there that are actually, you know what I mean, legit immigrants. They've you know, for whatever reason, they've tried to get to the United States like any other immigrant does. But and again, then there's the unsavory type of immigrant. And when she's saying there's children being ripped away from families,
they're being sold.
One of the I can't remember his name. Forgive me. He's one of the senators or congressmen or one of your secretaries there turned around and went, as in any criminal case, children are separated from adults or parents.
Yep.
And he made the example of if it's a domestic violence report, the children will be moved away from the adults. He said that's in the exact same place. He said where possible, the children will remain with parents because it's just easier, you know. But obviously, there's an element of children being brought across the border by inverted commas parents when they're actually traffickers. So they're being taken away from those people to verify identification. You know, are these your real mum and dad? You know, if not, then there's issues there. Or if they've committed a crime.
They're doing DNA tests at the border now. And you would be surprised. I think it's 1/3 of the kids they find. That's why you now have the kids in cages, which actually those cages were built by Obama. And you didn't hear fucking boo from anybody when Obama was president. And guess how many cages? Trump built one chain link fence, and you know what it was? For a processing center. And it was just to keep them as they're being processed to be moved to another center. That's the only chain link fence that this administration has built. And yet they're still lying. I mean, there's a congressman from Ohio who went on about it, Jim Jordan. He's a good guy, great guy. Anyways, that's my point of this. And honestly, dude, this has been an epic show. We've probably went too long because I wanted to keep it short. But I think we've hit on everything I wanted to hit on. Are you going to be available for... Well, we'll talk about that offline. You guys, thank you for stopping by Kaiser's Castle. As always, my outro is going to be from Axion Ghost, and it's called Hanabu, keeping in spirit with the Hertz Forest and Area 51, Hanabu Highway from Axion Ghost. Here he goes. Thank you for stopping by Kaiser's Castle, taking a seat on my big orange couch, drinking a large cup of coffee, tea, soda, or beer, adult libation. And with that being said, I am going to slowly close the drawbridge. Shuff out.